First big one of the year. We'll start with Tank Davis. There was the main event, freaking 1:30 in the morning. I'll have more on that later. Over on the East Coast, that was tough. Another sellout, 19,000. We know that about Tank. He puts asses in seats. Another thing we know about Tank is he's a slow starter. I've never seen anything like it, and it's just I don't know if it's a we can even say it's just this is what he's been doing lately. It's like a pattern. This is almost his identity. It's like he wasn't as slow as he was in the Rolly fight. I think the Rolly fight he was averaging 14 punches thrown around. I think he upped it to like 25 or 26. But first 3 rounds, Tank landed a total of 9 punches. He landed 69 punches in rounds 4 through 8. And then he finished the show landing 29 of 39 and stopping Hector Garcia for I think it's now 26 knockout in 29 fights, something like that for Tank Davis. What'd you make of his performance? And wow, he just did it. He did it again.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of what we spoke about last time when we were talking about his style and how I thought the fight would go. Hector Garcia is very capable. I thought he put on a great performance. He stayed in the pocket much more than I expected, which was probably to his detriment. But he boxed well. His left hand was landing pretty well. He was countering good. He stayed in there. He gave a great account of himself. But with Tank, man, it's just a matter of time until he unloads that artillery. He's analyzing, he's figuring things out, he's getting closer. He doesn't care how he gets there. He just wants to knock you out. And that's just what he does. We're talking about his style, and this is nothing new. This is the way he fights. He doesn't care about getting hit as clean. He's not going to just fight a defensive fight. He's not going to be just making sure he doesn't get hit. He's going to try and hit you. He's going to try and hit you hard. And if you hit me and I hit you at the same time, I don't care. I'm still winning that exchange.
Would you make a Hector Garcia's game plan? Like I thought early on, like we talked about this on the preview show. It's like the Leo Santa Cruz of the world were the ones that gave Tank a lot of issues. Rolly slowed down the pace. He was afraid to throw. Isaac Cruz early on didn't throw as much, and then did late because Tank had a hand injury. But for Hector Garcia, like I thought some of those rounds early on were there for him to take, and he didn't. Simply because he didn't throw a lot too. But one thing to be said about that is like you're afraid what's coming back. Like Tank is he's probably the best counterpuncher in the game, most powerful puncher below heavyweight. Him and Naoya Inoue. I'll get your thoughts on that too. But what did you make of Hector Garcia early on? Do you think he should have let his hands go a little more, or easier said than done?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we spoke about that last time as well. We're talking about the Santa Cruz fight in terms of output. Counterpunchers. The thing about counterpunchers is you have to speed up the pace. You got to lead. You got to go. If you can't match him counterpunch for counterpunch, you can't match him for speed, and you're not going to match Tank for speed or power. You just got to outwork him. You got to put pressure on him. You got to make him uncomfortable so he can't get set to unload those big counter shots. Garcia didn't really do that. He wanted to counter the counterpuncher and try and outbox him. And when you got a guy who has that much of a power advantage, it's not going to work. So you got to go through hell with a guy like Tank, but you got to put pressure on him. You got to throw combinations.
Yeah, I thought that he maybe could open up a little more, Garcia, but that doesn't come off his stool for the 8th and the 7th round, or I think it was the 9th, or the last round.
Right.
Gervonta just right. The 8th round, Gervonta Davis, he was steadily increasing his work rate. You could see it. Like I said, the first couple of rounds, he wasn't doing much of anything. Middle rounds, he's starting to step on it, and you would see these glimpses, these short spurts from Tank. When he did throw that lead left, it was landing, going to the body, even mixing in some jabs. And you're like, oh, wow. Like when this guy does throw and he puts his combinations together, it's absolutely beautiful to watch. It's just few and far between in those early on rounds. But he's like slow. I hate to use the term, like it's been used way too much, like the downloading the data. I don't know if he's even downloading that. I think that's just what he likes to do. Like he just likes to slowly get into a fight and then step on the gas pedal when he absolutely has to. But 29 of 39 in that final round, that left hook that snapped the head of Garcia, he says he couldn't see. I can't see. He doesn't come out of his corner. Guys that that have been in this business for a long time, like Teddy Atlas, pretty much said that he quit. Like he didn't come out of there. But like, have you ever heard of a fighter like not being able to see, or do you think it was, you know what, I'm probably going to get sparked out cold in the next round. I'm just going to, I'm done and for this fight.
Now, I'm a kind of guy, I believe fighters what they say. And I've been hit before and I couldn't see. So in the Ruslan Provodnikov fight, when I got dropped in first round and broke my orbital, I couldn't see out of either eye. It wasn't just the eye that got hit. The lights shut off. my body was moving fine, my mind was completely fine, but my eyes didn't work. And that's just something that happens. So in a situation like that, if it doesn't come back right away, first of all, it's terrifying, because if you can't see, you can't fight, you can't protect yourself, then you can't fight. So that's why when you say that to a referee or to a doctor, the fight's over. If you can't see, you can't protect yourself, and you can't protect yourself, you can't fight. But I saw an interview later, and he said he didn't know where he was.
Yeah.
When he come back to his corner, that's all I got to hear. If you don't know where you are and your eyes aren't working, what are you going to do? I mean, you can try and go out there and hope it comes back. That's what I did in my fight, but I can't speak for everyone. I'm never going to be like, oh, well, in my fight I did that, so he should. No, that's not the way human bodies work. That's not the way individuals are. And I'm not just saying mindset. I'm talking about physiologically what's going on. If you don't know where you are, and he looked buzzed afterwards too. It took a while to come back. He's probably buzzed today. So I don't know. Yeah, I believe fighters. If they say you can't see, then fight's over.
Yeah, we should believe fighters. And, it's like the easy thing to say is he quit. Oh, he didn't come off his stool as you're sitting there watching on your couch. But another side of it is, shouldn't we commend these guys for speaking up when they should? Like, we've seen a lot of fighter injuries over the last couple of years, guys that are too brave, corners that are too brave. I can't see. I don't know where I am because he got hit with a flush left hand.
Yep.
How he can live on the fight another day. This guy is still a champion at 130 pounds. He put together a decent performance for himself, a good account of himself. Didn't get knocked out cold. Lived to fight another day. Like, that's fine for me. Like, I some of those he quit lines were a little troubling, but I'm not surprised. But he moves on to fight another day, and he I think he did the right thing there too, to talk to his corner and not take any more.
I like the honesty. Come back. I don't know where I was. Like that, to come out and say that after the fact, it's like, fighters, we've got big egos, man. We got a lot of pride. So admitting something like that shows you how serious and dire it was. So you got to give it to him. Did
you see there was a fight in the crowd?
I did see that. Yeah.
What the hell was that? Meek Mill, Wallow, who I've never heard of. I heard of Wale. Never heard of Wallow. And the Russell family all getting into it. Like, I've seen fights after. Obviously, we've seen fights like before. Never seen a fight in the crowd where the in the ring they were like, wait a second, stop. Like, we got to stop this. That was a little scary, and it was a little perplexing because, like, I put on Twitter, I was like, I've never seen that before. I've never seen a fight in the crowd stop a fight. Someone was like, well, what about Riddick Bowe and Galata? I was like, that was after. Like, a low blow stopped the fight. Then there was a melee in the ring. Like, we see fights in the crowd all the time. Barclays Center, MSG.
Yeah.
The War Grounds, whatever they're calling it now, the place out in California. Like, but it never stops. Like, you see the crowd go crazy. It never stopped it. That was pretty crazy.
I have seen that on lower level shows, like off TV or dark shows. I've seen some, also when you're coming up and you're fighting on the local circuits, you're fighting in very small venues. So you're looking at your cousin getting into a fist fight, in the front row. It's hard not to notice that, or, kind of pull back. I've seen that before at smaller shows. At that level, I have not. No.
Like, Tank was looking over. He was like visibly
he pulled off and looked and was like, oh.
He was visibly distracted in the ring. Afterwards, when he was talking to Jim Gray asked him about Ryan Garcia, asked him about his camp. Like, were you distracted this camp? Obviously, all the legal stuff and the fight almost being off. And he said, yeah, I was distracted. Asked him to rate his performance. He said he wasn't my best. I'm going to get back in the gym, and I'm a fighter, and I'm not retired. So there's always room to get better. I love that from Tank. When he decides to put his words together, which isn't always the case with him, like, he's very blunt and he's very honest. Like, he will straight tell you, that wasn't the best performance for me. I can always get better. Yeah, I was distracted. I am human. The fight was almost off. But all eyes go to the next fight. Ryan Garcia was watching on Instagram Live. He was tweeting throughout the fight. Afterwards, Gervonta Davis said, I'm ready. My side is ready. April 15th. De La Hoya has said it. Ryan Garcia has said it. Tank has said it. There is no more obstacles in the way. This is the biggest fight I think you could make in boxing outside of like a heavyweight clash with like Fury and Joshua. I think it could sell the most pay-per-views this year of any fight out there. It's a money fight. It's not a fight with any title on the line. It's two of the most popular fighters going at it finally. Like, I'm excited for this fight. I'm ready. I can't wait. It hasn't been a big fight in boxing in a while. Bring me this fight. I hope I'm there ringside.
I agree. Not only do I think it's a good fight and a good matchup, but I think it's one of those crossover style fights because of the personalities involved that it'll pull new fans into the sport. There's going to be a lot of eyes on it. It's going to sell well. And I mean, leading up to it, the trash talk, the press conferences, the tours, it's going to be popcorn eating time the entire time these guys are rolling out the fight. So, and plus, you know, the stuff that's going to come from the camp. Gervonta Davis is training. He trains very, very hard. He actually trains down here in South Florida. He spars hard. He trains hard. So getting a peek into those camps is always going to be cool. Ryan Garcia, obviously, he's got that hand speed. He's got the brilliance on the bags that people love to see. So I think there's a lot of aspects to this fight that make it really stand out when you're looking at the rest of the year and all the cards that could be and all the fights that could be made.
Right. I think it's up there with Fury Usyk. I think it's up there with if Spence and Crawford ever tangle. It's up there with anything Canelo wants to put out there. And later on in the year, we talked about this almost ad nauseum, right? It's like, you know, what they bring outside of the ring and how this could be, you know, a crossover event and how not just boxing media will be there. There'll be all sorts of media, non-sports media there. We've talked about that till we're blue in the face, and I think everyone knows that this has capabilities of being a big time pay-per-view and big time moneymaker. How about in the ring? I mean, we've seen more of Tank Davis lately than we've seen of Ryan Garcia. We pretty much know what Tank's fights are going to be like. It's almost if you can bet on how his fights will look, and you can like kind of string it out, like it's going to be him starting slow, him picking it up, getting a late stoppage. It's happened over and over now. Right, you can just like almost depend on that from Gervonta Davis. Ryan Garcia is the wild card here from just simply stepping in the ring and what he's capable of. You speak very highly of him. I'm a big fan of his abilities as well. Longer, doesn't really jab, but can put it out there. I thought that Hector Garcia, I think, landed 5 jabs the entire fight. He landed 3% of his jabs. So I think the one way to rack up rounds early on Tank, if he's not going to throw early, is to be active and just to put a jab out there and a rangefinder, which I think Ryan Garcia can do. So let's talk early breakdown of this fight. Everyone looks like they're giving like the favorite's going to be Tank. Like, how do you see Ryan Garcia hanging in there early and ultimately getting a win?
You know, with Ryan Garcia, we spoke about his jab. He uses it more as a rangefinder in order to pinpoint where he's going to throw that lightning left hook that he has. He's got great timing, great range, great angles on that hook. It obviously comes with tremendous power. It's very, very quick, which makes it almost as good as a jab for a lot of situations. So for him, he's going to be using that left hand jab as a rangefinder. But listen, Gervonta's a southpaw anyway. A jab against a southpaw doesn't land all that much. It does great. It's great for setting things up. It's great as a rangefinder. It's great to keep a guy off balance, but it's not going to land a lot. And that's just how it works. But I think he needs to be busy with that left jab as a setup and a rangefinder so he can land that left hook, which for a southpaw is actually a little bit blinded. You've got your lead hand up. That punch comes over the top. It leaves your field of vision and then it hits you. And that's why it's such a dangerous punch against a southpaw or for a southpaw fighting an orthodox fighter. I've got to see a little more right hands from Ryan Garcia in this fight to be effective because he's longer. I think putting that straight right hand down the pipe, down the middle. Tank is very good at standing his ground and rolling his shoulders. So I think targeting the body at times is going to be important, but he has to be very careful from the counters. And I think just like this fight early on, I think he has to be really busy. He has to establish the range, the height, the length that he has in terms of his advantage because Gervonta's coming. And 10, 12 rounds is a long time.
I'm just so excited for this fight. Like, I give Ryan Garcia a pretty good shot. I know a lot of people are writing him off as an easy thing to do. It's easy. Oh, he's going to get slept. He's going to get slept. Just a matter of time. Look what Luke Campbell did to him. He's so inactive. He's just got these skill, like the speed. Like they were talking about how
he's got physical talent and gifts.
Right, physical. Like people just are so quick to write him off for all the things we've seen. But I don't see a lot of fans talking about like what exactly Ryan Garcia does that makes him a special fighter, and that's the speed, and that's the power, and that's the length. Like he doesn't have a jab, Ryan, but he will just find the range early on, and I think he can do that to Tank. I think he has to stick around early and also bank rounds in order for him, and he has to land too. Like he can't just survive early on. I think he's going to come out and look to land early. That's what makes it a really fun fight, in my opinion, because he is a little vulnerable on defense. he tells me all the time that he likes to come out and get knockouts. Like, I like to entertain. I'm gonna come forward. I mean, if he does that, we're gonna have an all-time classic, like the counter punching of Gervonta and the power, and Ryan coming forward. I honestly think that he should be. I think Tank will be the favorite, but I do think Garcia has a legitimate shot to beat Tank.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, in terms of the talent, like I said, the big thing for me is the weight. If this fight's at 140, I would lean more heavily towards Ryan. Because it's at 36. I'm going Gervonta Davis all the way. I think that the fight is going to look similar to a lot of Gervonta's fights, but I think Ryan is going to bank a lot of rounds early. I think he's going to really be in there. And like you said, I think it's actually going to be a class. I think it's going to be an awesome fight. I'm hoping it is. And I think that if Ryan comes out and tries to assert his dominance, which he always does, he's not like a mover and trying to get away and whatever. He's going to come forward and try and land that left hook and find that range. And Tank is going to do what Tank does. He's going to tank forward. But I think with the body punching, his ability to fight taller guys the way he does, the power that he brings, even though there's a size difference, I think just a matter of time, Tank is going to work his way in there. Again, that weight bothers me. Ryan's he's a big kid, for making that weight again, which he hasn't done in I think 18 months or so. That could affect this fight.
He is calling, tweeting at Regis Prograis. He's talking about a lot of the 140 pounders. Like, I think Ryan Garcia is a 140 pounder. Like you said, hasn't fought at 135 in a few years. 136 is where this fight will be at because they want to make that money. I get that. I honestly can't wait for the fight to happen. We'd be shocked now, which is a weird thing to say, if it doesn't, because all the parties are saying it. De La Hoya,
I wouldn't be shocked.
Well, me.
I'm pessimistic, CA.
Me, optimistic Dan. Like, do you see De La Hoya putting out he put out a video with his CGI abs during the pay-per-view last night? He had to have getting some type of work done, right?
Yeah. So my buddy shoots me one of those videos and he goes, man, steroids are cool. And I go, yeah, sometimes, but steroids and surgery are not. Listen, when I don't care how, when I get really lean when I fight. When I shadow box, the skin over my abs moves. So the skin on those abs are not moving. It looks very funny.
He looks like a 300, from 300. Yeah, it's like a shield.
Something's going on there. Yeah,
but even last night, he posts a lot of things on the beach, and that's obviously fine. But last night, he was in his living room, and he had a hoodie on, a zip down hoodie, and it was open. It was just, and it had the abs, and his caption literally said, I paid too much money for these abs not to show them off. But ... Tank Ryan, April 15th.
Listen, I agree with him. Dude, you're in your 50s and you got abs. Show them. Cool.
I love Oscar.
He
just gives us so much content and so much stuff to talk about. He's hilarious. I think he
always has, though. No matter he has been the guy who's been able to parlay everything of his career. It's awesome. He's a moneymaker. Everybody wants to see what he's doing, whether it's good or bad. So yeah, you're right.
So your way too early prediction for Tank Ryan. Does Tank stop him?
I think so. It's hard to not say Tank's not going to stop somebody if he's going to win.
Yeah, unless he did beat Isaac Cruz, but that was
But Isaac Cruz is a pit bull, and he's been in fights like that. Ryan hasn't been in those back and forth type fights yet. So it's hard to say because we don't know the durability of Ryan yet. He got dropped that one time with Campbell, stormed back, which I was super impressed. That's just one of my favorite fights of his. But Tank's a different animal. Being in a tough, rough fight is a whole different thing. And it's crazy how resilient your body gets to it when you do a couple of those. Like Isaac Cruz, his whole career has been that. So for him to stand in there, I'm not that surprised. But again, I think without the hand injury, Gervonta still might have stopped him.
Yeah, I just think I get. Yeah, I'm trying to think what I want to go. I don't have to give a prediction, I think Ryan. I could see.
Put me on the spot, and now you're not.
I think Ryan could get it done late. I think it doesn't go the distance. I think whoever lands flush first will win. I think they both have pretty good power. Obviously Tank has a little more power. I just think Tank has so much more facets to his game.
I think it's different power though. Ryan's power is surprising.
Yeah.
Tank's power is like thudding, and he beats you down. It's obviously he's got heavy hands, and he lands and he builds, and he's not really a one punch guy. Ryan, I think, is. I think Ryan can clip you with a left hook and put the lights out, and that's going to be really telling early on, because if he can hurt, wobble, or even just get the respect of Gervonta early, that's going to be very telling for the rest of the night.
Man, can't wait. Can't wait for that one. Hopefully it does. We get an announcement, and that's the next thing from these two camps, is like a literal like announcement, like fight date, venue.
And when that does, we're going to be talking about this fight till we're blue in the face.
Yeah, exactly. I have no problem. I'm so tired of talking about all the other stuff that we usually have to talk about here. Like, give me like a fight, two fighters in their primes, under 30. Let's go.
I like both guys a lot. Like, so it's very cool when you got that opportunity. It's, I think it's just it's great for the sport. It's
great for the sport. It's just like, and it's also happening at like a perfect time. Like, everyone's tired of the Spence Crawford freaking saga. Heavyweights are pissing people off, not getting in
there. But
also,
those guys are closer to 35. These guys are closer to 25. That's cool. We don't see that anymore.
Yeah, it's very rare that the fighting. I think Ryan Garcia is 23 or 24. Tank's 28. This doesn't have, like, sadly, this is rare. Like, this is something to be excited about. Like, this happened a lot more often in the past eras, past generations. And I think it is a fight worth applauding and a fight worth talking about till we're blue in the face.